Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wolf Pit with another episode of What Are We Eating? A big pot of homemade chili simmering on the stove, whether it has beans or it doesn't have beans. It's hearty, delicious, comforting, and of course, musical. Which is one of my favorite things about eating chili. Although my wife isn't nearly as enthusiastic as I am about me eating chili, I still enjoy the tunes and the dirty looks I get from her the next day. She evidently doesn't appreciate good music, or still doesn't understand my sense of humor. But some people don't have the time, wherewithal, or simply don't want to make a pot of chili. They want the convenience of being able to open up a can, heating it up, and having it right now. So that's when they head down the canned soup aisle and pick up a can or two of their favorite chili, like one of these. I know there's a lot more brands of canned chili, but these chilies are the ones that were readily available to me. I thought I got 5 cans of chili with beans, but as you can see, the can of Family Gourmet chili does not contain beans. So I blame that either on me being dumb or blind, or both. But I'm going to go with it because I don't think it's going to affect the overall flavor. But of course, it's going to affect the texture because it doesn't have beans. So let's start off with the number one selling chili in America, Hormel chili with beans. I can probably count on one hand how many times in my life I've ever had a can of Hormel chili, or any other canned chili for that matter. But for my older brother Nick, Hormel chili is a staple in his house. This 15-ounce can of Hormel chili costs $2.18. Looking at the ingredients, they honestly look very basic, and not bad at all. Except the textured soy flour, which is just another name for one of my all-time favorites, textured vegetable protein. Normally I don't like TVP when it's mixed with meat. I think it just ruins the texture of the meat and makes it spongy. But it does appear that it's in this chili on its own and not added into the meat. So I'm definitely interested to see how it affects the chili, if it affects it at all. But there's also no preservatives in Hormel's chili. There's about 2 1-cup servings per can. Per serving, there's 260 calories, 7 grams of total fat, 2.5 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 25 milligrams of cholesterol, 990 milligrams of sodium, 31 grams of carbohydrates, 7 grams of fiber, 5 grams of sugars, and 17 grams of protein. But you can probably double all those numbers because most people are going to eat the whole can, just like they would a can of soup. The best by date is November 2019. And seeing that I've had these cans sitting in a box in the garage for about a year, it actually has a really long shelf life, which will make it a good food storage item, if it's any good. So let's get the chili out of the can and into a bowl and then get it heated up. And if you happen to notice the pretty fingernails, those aren't mine. No, really, they're not. My older daughter Lisa came over to help me for the day. So really, I promise you, they're not my fingernails. Now I guess you could say it looks like dog food, but it looks like any other chili that I've made that sat in the fridge overnight, and it thickens up just like this. So I'm hoping it's going to loosen up after it's heated. So now it goes into the microwave for 3 minutes on high or until it's heated through. After 3 minutes, the aroma started filling the house. And as you can see, once it was heated up, it loosened up quite a bit. But it definitely has an all too familiar canned chili smell. It doesn't necessarily smell bad, but it just smells like canned chili. Let's give it a mix and see what it tastes like. And once it was heated up, it actually didn't look that bad. But I don't see any bell peppers or onions, which I always have in my chili. It certainly appeared that there's a lot more beans in here than there is meat, which I expected, since beans are a whole lot cheaper than meat. So right into my pie hole it went. And to be perfectly honest, I found it to be pretty bland. Not a whole lot of flavor or spice at all. I could definitely tell there was real ground meat in here, not little pieces of foreign meat slurry. I definitely don't think the TVP was mixed with meat. If it was, it fooled me. Had I not seen it in the ingredients, I wouldn't even know it's in here. The second bite I took was pretty much the same result. Not a lot of flavor and definitely not spicy. A couple splashes of your favorite hot sauce and some fresh chopped onion would help a whole lot. This wasn't really bad, it was just really bland. If this is America's number one selling chili, then I'm not really sure what to think of the other chilies. But I gotta continue and try the rest, for you, the people, so you don't have to. Now let's try the Armour chili with beans, another big brand that everyone's probably heard of. This 14-ounce can of Armour chili with beans costs $1.91. Now the list of ingredients for the Armour isn't as impressive as Hormel's. Per 14-ounce can, there's about 2 1-cup servings. Per serving, there's 380 calories, 19 grams of total fat, 7 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 50 milligrams of cholesterol, 1,280 milligrams of sodium, 31 grams of carbohydrates, 7 grams of fiber, 2 grams of sugars, and 21 grams of protein. Armour also has a long shelf life. Now let's get the chili in the bowl, heat it up, and see what it tastes like. I really had to work hard and scoop out the Armour chili. It was very thick and didn't want to come out. I bet that's not the case after we eat it. So into the microwave it went for 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, it was still pretty thick. So I gave it a mix and put it back in the microwave for another 45 seconds. After heating for a total of 3 minutes and 45 seconds, it finally loosened up. Even once it was loosened up, it was still thicker than the Hormel. And it looked like it had a lot more meat. So I got a big spoonful, and into my gullet it went. The Armour chili pretty much tasted just like the Hormel, pretty bland and not spicy at all. The only taste difference is the Armour chili was very salty. I took one more bite with the same results. Pretty bland, very salty, and the meat texture was spongy and weird. And I thought it looked like it had more meat, but after taking a couple spoonfuls, I changed my mind. But unlike the Hormel, I could definitely tell there was TVP in this, and the meat texture was spongy. But of course, just like with the Hormel, the beans were good. Now for the Family Gourmet chili with no beans. And I really feel like an idiot for getting the one with no beans, but I'm going to go with what we got. This is a Family Dollar Store brand, and this 15-ounce can costs $1.25. The Family Gourmet chili has a really simple list of ingredients. Kudos to Family Gourmet. This is one of the chilies that I thought would have a ton of ingredients. But just like the Hormel and Armour chilies, it has textured vegetable protein, which I did expect in these cheaper cans of chili. But it also has another interesting filler, rolled oats, also known as oatmeal. You know, the hot morning cereal? I found that pretty interesting. Now I know a lot of people who use oatmeal as a binder in meatloaf. I've never done it myself, but I've had meatloaf with oatmeal in it, and it's not bad. But I would have never thought it would be in chili. There's about 2 1-cup servings per can. Per serving, there's 220 calories, 9 grams of total fat, 3 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 25 milligrams of cholesterol, 890 milligrams of sodium, 19 grams of carbohydrates, 4 grams of fiber, 5 grams of sugars, and 16 grams of protein. This one also has a long shelf life. The Family Gourmet chili poured out of the can probably as fast as the chili's going to pour out of me. And it probably looks the same too. As long as it doesn't taste the same, we're good. And I'm guessing it's so thin because there's no starch from the beans. So it went into the microwave for 3 minutes on high. After 3 minutes, our Family Gourmet chili is heated through. And it looks like it had a premature blowout in the bowl in the microwave. And as you can tell, it got really loose. Again, that's because there's no starch from the beans to hold it together and thicken it up. But for not having any beans, it definitely looks pretty loose, but it also looks pretty hearty. Who knows if the chunks of meat are meat, the rolled oats, or TVP, or a combination of everything. So I closed my eyes, said a quick prayer, and gave it a try. Believe it or not, so far out of the 3 chilies, the Family Gourmet had the best flavor. But you can definitely tell there's a lot of fillers in here, with lots of little chewy pieces that are obviously not meat. But honestly, this isn't really horrible. I took another bite, and again, the initial flavor was the best so far, but it had a funny aftertaste. But this was a little bit better than I thought it would be. Next, I have a 15-ounce can of Southgate chili with beans, which I also bought at the Family Dollar for $1.25. And just like with the Family Gourmet, the ingredient list was short and sweet. And there's not a lot of garbage in here and no preservatives. But of course, it has a textured soy protein, which just like the Family Gourmet, I expected it to be in the cheaper cans of chili. So it's really no surprise. Just like with the other 3 cans of chilies, there's about 2 1-cup servings per can. Per serving, there's 290 calories, 14 grams of total fat, 6 grams of saturated fat, 1 gram of trans fat, 30 milligrams of cholesterol, 720 milligrams of sodium, 27 grams of carbohydrates, 9 grams of fiber, less than 1 gram of sugars, and 13 grams of protein. Now this one has the longest shelf life so far, of 2021. The Southgate chili poured out of the can really easy. And to me, it looked the best right out of the can. What do you think? But it also looked more like a can of pinto beans being poured out than it did chili. Either way, it didn't look too bad at all. So into the microwave for 3 minutes it went. After 3 minutes, our Southgate chili with beans is ready. And again, it doesn't look too bad. But where's the beef? It looks just like a bowl of pinto beans. So I got a big spoonful and took a bite. And I thought with all those black specks in there, it was either black pepper or some other sorts of seasonings. But this was pretty bland as well. It wasn't bad, it was just bland. So I mixed it all around and got another spoonful. And I did see some little pieces of meat, or form meat, but again, the majority of the chili was beans, and they were mushy at that. Even though I thought I saw some little pieces of meat in here, I couldn't really taste them or feel them. But overall, it's not that bad for a can of beans. Finally, the 15-ounce can of Wolf Brand chili, which is an authentic homestyle Texas recipe with beans that cost $2.18. I thought real Texas chili was made without beans. It doesn't matter to me because I like beans in my chili. The Wolf Brand chili has a few more ingredients that don't look too bad and definitely not as bad as the Armour. And there's also oatmeal in here too. There's about 2 1-cup servings per can. Per serving, there's 330 calories, 17 grams of total fat, 7 grams of saturated fat, 0.5 grams of trans fat, 35 milligrams of cholesterol, 880 milligrams of sodium, 670 milligrams of potassium, 27 grams of carbohydrates, 8 grams of fiber, 3 grams of sugars, and 17 grams of protein. And as you can see, once again, I got a product past the Best By date, which especially in this case, I don't think is really a big deal. But even if it was, I'm doing this for you, the people, so you don't have to. Straight out of the can, it looked like the Hormel and Armour chili, but it smelled really good. So it goes into the microwave on high for 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, the Wolf Brand chili is ready. And out of all 5, it smells like real chili. The consistency is a little soupy, but you can see bell peppers and onions and pieces of meat. And some pinto beans, not very many though. Besides the Family Gourmet chili with no beans, the Wolf Brand looks like it has the fewest beans. So I gave it a try. And although it's not as hearty as some of the other ones were, it's definitely the tastiest one. It definitely doesn't look like the chili you make at home, but it does taste like the chili you make at home. And it doesn't have the canned chili smell or taste. So before my final review on all 5 canned chilies, I wanted to do something a little bit different and combine all 5 cans into one big bowl, mix them up real good, heat it up, and see how it all tastes combined. So I poured all 5 cans of chili into the bowl to hopefully make a delicious concoction. But from a look standpoint, there's nothing delicious about this so far. So once everyone's in the pool together, I give it a mix, then put it back in the microwave for 3.5 minutes. After 3.5 minutes, the concocted bowl of chili is ready. And honestly, at this point, I thought I might be onto something, because it was starting to look good. A lot better than some of them did individually. So I mixed it up and gave it a try. And it was actually not bad at all. All the flavors kind of work together. I'm not sure how or why, but all 5 cans of chili combined created a decent bowl of chili. But it's pretty good for canned chili. So here's my final thoughts on all 5 cans of chili, from my least favorite to my favorite. Starting out at number 5 is the Southgate chili with beans. And I don't think there was anything necessarily wrong with it, it just didn't taste like chili to me. It was more like a can of beans than anything else. The beans are a little mushy, and there was hardly any meat, or fake meat for that matter. And there wasn't a lot of flavor at all. At number 4, we have Family Gourmet chili with no beans. Even without the beans, it was pretty hearty, with some fillers like TVP and oatmeal, which I normally don't like, but in this, it wasn't too bad. It had a good flavor, but a funny aftertaste, but overall, not too bad. At number 3, we have Armour chili with beans, and this was by far the saltiest out of all 5. And again, it just didn't have much flavor. Coming in at number 2 is America's number 1 selling chili, Hormel chili with no beans, which obviously, my opinion differs than the rest of America, because I didn't think it was the best canned chili, but it wasn't too bad at all from a quality standpoint, it just lacked flavor. And finally, the chili that I thought was the best was the Wolf Brand Homestyle Texas chili with beans. I think it was the full package as far as canned chili goes. The flavor was good, The aroma was good, the beans were good, and it was definitely the meatiest. I'd still much prefer a bowl of homemade chili than a can of chili, but if I had to get one, it would be the Wolf brand. If you'd like to help support the Wolf Pit, consider being a patron. You can pledge as little as $1 a month, that's only $12 for the whole year. Or you can pledge more, that's up to you. Either way, every little bit's appreciated and helps me produce more high-quality videos more often for you, the people. Thank you all very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.